At His grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is that my consciousness is purified by the works emanating from His Lord's mouth. Attachment to His Lord's feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my heart with eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From Him ecstatic preeminence, by Him ignorance is destroyed. The great spiritual singer's character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, reveal yourself to us, and give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds, and we take shelter of the lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya
Sarana Padma Kevala Bhaktari Satma Shri Guru Sarana Padma Kevala Bhaktari Satma Bandama Sabandana Mate Yahara Prasade Yahara Prasade Bhai Bhavatori Ayai Yahara Prasade Bhai Bhavatori Ayai Krishna Prati Hoya Hoite Krishna Prati Hoya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Saraswati Devi Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare
His divine grace, legacy, Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Samstapacharya, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Down Vishnupad, Brahmans, Prahladananda Acharya, Satushi, Sriman, His divine grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Raj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava, Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhadragana, Shri Jeev Govardhan Jasragana, Shat Goswami Guru ki jai. Prabhupada Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda, Shri Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shyamakun, Radhakun, Kiri Govindam ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Amrit Dham ki jai, Vinapuri Dham ki jai, Ayodhya Dham ki jai, ISKCON Radhadesh ki jai, Gadamai ki jai, Gadamai ki jai, Srimati Bhakti Dev ki jai, Srimati Tulsi Dev ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, Lalita Vishaka ki jai, Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Srimati Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Gaur Premanande, gloriously sung Gopis, all gloriously sung Gopis, all gloriously sung Gopis, all glorious Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Ramana Girivardhari Gopi Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parvadakacharya Asatara Situshi Sriman His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande to all glories to the sound devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Namaste Sarasvati Gaurvanga Shani Nirvishesha Smivadi Pastakya Om Agyana Tvanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stavitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Hidati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sadrivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakan Svitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patidanam Vamanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 16, the Payavrata process of worship, text number 6. I thought, is this class being recorded?
Normally, yes, due to Prana sets it up for automatic recording.
Oh, but just on the audio.
It's only audio recording or video also? Only sound, no?
The sound.
And video as well.
Where's the camera?
Here?
Oh, that also. Oh, okay. We're surrounded. Vishnamurti Prabhu gave class yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Which verse did he give it on the previous verse? On 5?
Yeah, he gave until 1 to 5, yes.
Oh, okay. Api Vaiti Thaya. Before I can complete it, you're saying. Abhityaya Kutumba Saktaya Vaya Rihat Apujita Yata Pratyuthanena Vachit Apivaititayo Bhetya Kutumba Saktaya Tvaya Prihara Pujita Yataha Pradyutanena Vakadvachit Apivatitaya Bhetya Kutumba Saktaya Tvaya Prihara Pujitayata Pradyutanena Vakvachit
Apivatitayo Bheta Kutumba Saktaya Tvaya Prihara Pujitayata Pratyutanena Vakvachit Apivatitayo Bheta Kutumba Saktaya Tvaya Prihara Pujitayata Pratyutanena Vakvachit
Apivatitayo Bhetya Kutumba Saktaya
Satya
Kumbhava Sakaya Tvaya
Grihada Pujitayata Pratyuta Nenava Vakshit.
Ladies.
Abhivatita yogecha
Abhivatita yogecha
Kutumba saktaya tvaya
Kutumba saktaya tvaya Grihada pujitaya
Prajutanena vakvasi
Prajutanena vakvasi Abhivatita yogecha Kutumba saktaya tvaya Grihada pujitayata Prajutanena vakvasi Api, whether, Va, either, Atithaya, guests who come without an invitation, Abhyetya, coming to the home, Kutumba, Saktaya, who to attach to the family members. Tvaya, by you. Grihat, from the house. Apujitaha, without being properly welcomed. Is that better?
Yes. Yeah.
Yataha, went away. Pratyutanena, by standing up. Va, either. Kvachit, sometimes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I wonder whether, because of being too attached to the members of your family, you fail to properly receive uninvited guests, who therefore were not welcomed and went away. Purport. It is the duty of a householder to receive guests, even if a guest be an enemy. When the guest comes to one's home, one should properly receive him by standing up and offering him a seat. It is enjoyed grihe shratrum api praptam vishvastam akutobayam. Even if an enemy comes to one's home, one should receive him in such a way that the guest will forget that his host is an enemy. According to one's position, one should properly receive anyone who comes to one's home. At least a seat and a glass of water should be offered, so that the guest will not be displeased. Kashyapa Muni inquired from Aditi whether disrespect had been shown to such guests or atitis. Or atiti refers to one who comes without an invitation. So, the text again. Api vaititayo bhaitya kutumba saktaya tvaya grihad apujitayata pratyutanena vakvachit. I wonder whether you, because of being too attached to the members of your family, you failed to properly receive uninvited guests, who therefore were not welcomed and went away. Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Sadarne. Aditi is the mother of the demigods, as Diti is the mother of the demons. And both of them are sisters. And they're both married to Kashyapa Muni. Now the story goes that the demigods were driven out of the heavenly planets. And I think that was because of their offending their spiritual master. What's that?
Demons got blessing from their spiritual master.
Yeah, Shukracharya.
Yeah.
And therefore they became very powerful, and they drove the demigods out of the heavenly planets. So naturally the mother became concerned, the mother of the demigods, and Aditi, and she began to lament. Now, she happened to have a very powerful husband, Kashyapa, and therefore she wanted to get some opportunity from him to be able to regain the heavenly planets, or at least her sons could get back the heavenly planets. Now, she was pretending, well, I guess she was, or whatever, morose, and therefore she, when Kashyapa came back after meditation, he was wondering what's going on. So that's a good opportunity to tell her husband what's going on and what she wanted from him. But her husband, he didn't really like the idea of having the Aditi wanting to kill, actually who she's going to kill here? Indra. Not Indra.
Yeah, I think Indra is.
Yeah,
I
she
think
is.
so. I think it's Indra.
She wanted her sons back.
What's that?
Because the sons, her children were hiding everywhere, so she wanted them to get back to their places.
But what?
Amongst the others, right now she is asking yes for them, because they are hiding, being invisible. They got this boom that they can be invisible, and they are hiding like that. So her request now is to basically just to see them again. But at the other instance, she wants to kill Indra.
But that's Diti must want to kill Indra, because Indra killed.
Yeah, of course. It should be sister.
That's her child. In any case, now she's going to go through some Payavrata methodology, and then in order to get some benediction, so that Lord Ramadadev is going to become her son, so that Ramadadev is going to trick the demons into giving back the heavenly planets. So, so this is more or less, we're in the 8th canto. Matter of fact, a lot more, we find we were in the 1st canto, 2nd canto, 3rd canto. It's pretty much Krishna's pastimes and surrender to the Supreme Lord and how he's managing the universe. And we get into the 4th canto and there's Prithu Maharaj. It's all seemed pretty normal. And then there's the Dhruva Maharaj, and we get into the 5th, and there's the cosmic manifestation, and something about the forest of material enjoyment, how the material world is miserable, especially if one is trying to enjoy sense gratification. In the 6th canto, the glories of the holy name were explained. 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj. Now we get into the 8th canto, it's all about the demigods. And how we'll get into Purvachiti and and these Apsaras and Urvashi, and it gets more and more wondering, where is this going to? Why is it that suddenly we have Apsaras and Treta Yuga, and he's mad after this lady, and all kind of Indra's fighting against the demons, and he's getting defeated. Vritrasura is there, and he's killing a devotee. What's this? Is this like some, intermission before we get to the 10th canto? So Bhagavatam is based upon knowledge and renunciation. Knowledge that we're not this body, and Krishna's God, and the renunciation of the material concept of life. In the first cantos, this is emphasized, but now we're getting towards the 10th canto, and as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, prapya punya kritam lokam ushisa shasati sama suchinam srimatam gehe yogo prashta vijayate. That when one executes the devotional service or any kind of yoga process, then the result is one becomes pious. Pious means that gradually the heart becomes purified, and when one is pious, then if one does not go back to the spiritual world, at least he goes to the heavenly planets. Now we may think, well, that's not really so bad. Now here I'm going to live the maximum of 100 years, and there I can live for 100,000 years or 1,000,000 years. So practically that's forever. And there I can eat and I won't get sick. I can eat as much prasadam as I want. And there the women, it says, they're 1,000 times more attractive. They smell like lotus flowers. So, let me execute devotional service. And even if I get the consolation prize, it's not bad. Even if I only go to heaven and I enjoy in the Nanda Kandana forest for 1,000 years, then, it was certainly worth 16 rounds of schnick, schnick, ram, ram, day, 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 day. Hey, kitty, kitty, hey, kitty, kitty. Couldn't have done better. But we're being cautioned that even when we go to the heavenly planets, which is considered to be like phantasmagoria, or it's Akashapur Pushpayate, Tridasha Akashapur Tridashapur Akasha, Tridasha Akashapur, Tridashapur Akasha. The Akasha means sky, and Pushpa, Akasha Pushpayate. So Tridashapur means the third planetary system of the heavenly planets. Pushpayate is considered to be like a flower in the sky. Certainly there is enjoyment in the heavenly planets more than in this material world, but the more we enjoy, the quicker time goes, if you ever notice. Anyone ever remember being seated on a dentist chair and hearing the sound of the drill? And how time seems to slow up. Every moment seems like 12 years or more, and tears are flowing from our eyes like torrents of rain. And if anyone remembers when they were in school, then everyone was looking forward to the vacation. School seemed to drag on forever, and the vacation seemed to just fly by. We're back in school again. So similarly, if we go to the heavenly planets and so-called enjoy, or have less suffering, then time just flies by and we're back here again. Therefore, and not only that, but we may think we can go to the heavenly planets and everything is going to be all right. But the Bhagavatam specifically mentions everything that goes wrong in the heavenly planets. It may not be so often, but when Vritrasura is fighting against the demigods don't win. He steps on them, he gets crushed, like ants. So you think, I'm a great demigod, look at me, I have so much power. Suddenly this big foot comes down and you're just a puddle on the ground. And even Indra, who's supposed to be so powerful, who's going to enjoy so much, still he winds up in a lotus flower after being chased by some evil lady with vomiting blood who has tuberculosis. He winds up in a lotus flower for thousands of years, hiding. He gets kicked out of the heavenly planets, he gets cursed, he gets so many different things. He has eyes all over his body. It's problematic. And he's the king of the demigods.
Pig's body.
He gets a pig's body. He won't give it up. But he gets a nice big wife though, so it's not all so bad. and gets plenty of food and free rent. So this is to discourage us, because we have to understand that anywhere in the material world, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punavarta Ojuna, Mamupeti Tukonteya Punarjanma Navidite. From the highest planet down to the lowest, they're all places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. The one who takes Mayabodha, son of Kunti, he never takes birth again. Another problem is that after executing devotional service for this short period of time, if we do go to the heavenly planets, we may not come back in time for the golden age of Kali Yuga. We may come back at the wrong time in Kali Yuga. We may come back, instead of during the next 10,000 years, we come back in 11,000 years. And it's all downhill. So it's rather risky to go to the heavenly planets. Therefore Krishna says, Ataiva yoginam eva, kule bhavati dimatam, etadi duralabhataram, loke janma yadidrisham. That if we execute devotional service more seriously, then at worst, then we'll come back into the family of transcendentalists and take up the process of devotional service again. Otherwise, we go to the heavenly planets for some time, come back, and rich aristocratic merchants or a Brahminical family, we may not take up devotional service again. We may become deviated by the wealth and the opportunity for so-called education, material education. Now here we find culture receiving people who are uninvited. Because in the spiritual world, everyone is part of one big family. Mostly. I mean, of course, there's some divisions there. Radharani's sister is Chandravali. They don't seem, I mean, they're sisters. I guess sisters, that's why sisters here don't get along so well sometimes. Because in the spiritual world, they don't get along either. Especially if they're after the same man, they certainly don't get along. So Chandravali and Srimati Radharani, they're all trying to please the same person, Krishna, and they don't seem to get along very well. But except for that, the spiritual world is that of harmony, because the central point is just to please Krishna. And here in the material world, the central point is to please one's senses, and therefore ultimately there's conflict not only for uninvited people, but even your own relatives come. They become a burden sometimes. Especially in Kali Yuga, we find that even one's own parents become a burden, and therefore they're put away in some old age home. What to speak of an uninvited guest. But in India previously, even in this Kali Yuga, parents were taken care of by the children. There was some kind of culture. And uninvited guests were welcome and given some prasad. But in Kali Yuga, which is exemplified by the Western world, if you're uninvited, then they call the police. You knock on the door and you weren't invited, then the police are called. Or they won't even bother coming to the door. They look out through some television camera and tell you to go away, or else they're going to call the police. Robert was saying on one lecture that in Kali Yuga, you step on someone's property, they can shoot you some places. Now Prabhupada, as opposed to that, Prabhupada was, after his morning walk, and he got into a car. And they tried to start the car, but the car wouldn't start, the key didn't fit into the car, so they were quite surprised what's going on. An ambassador car. So finally, the owners of the car came, because they had an identical car to the one they drove in. So Prabhupada said, well, they got into the car and they saw a Swami was there, and they became very pleased. And they offered to drive Prabhupada home. Now in the Western world, if you get into someone's car, and it's not and you're uninvited, then they'll call the police to shoot you. They won't drive you home. They'll drive you to the morgue. So this is Kali Yuga. People are thinking, Ishvaraham aham bhogi, siraham balavan sukhi. That I'm the Lord of everything. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. And therefore they think either someone is my enemy or an object of my exploitation. In the Vedic culture, people are trained to, especially Brahmins and sannyasis, were given all comforts and facility. Otherwise, one was not considered to be civilized. Even when Sita was in the forest and Ram was lured away by Marichi, still when Ravana came dressed as a mendicant, Sita Devi offered him all kinds of hospitality. And although Lakshman had drawn the line to protect Sita, when the seemingly mendicant couldn't come across to receive the offering, Sita at her own risk crossed the line and was captured by Ravana. Such is the Vedic culture. So the Vedic culture is actually a manifestation of how to live according to spiritual values in this material world. And the result of such spiritual values is that one will become elevated. Even to the point that one will get whatever one desires. If one thinks we can get whatever we desire by some mechanical process, then Krishna says that's not how the material world works. We may imagine that by my endeavor I can change history, I can get what I want, but actually that's not possible because the material world works under Krishna's direction. Now we follow Krishna's direction, for instance, through austerity or charity or penance, then we may get what we want. But if it's not in Krishna consciousness, we'll find out it's also Shrama Eva Hi Kevala. It's a waste of time. We may get what we want. Hiranyakashipu almost got what he wanted. He went through austerity because the material world is based on sense gratification. If we restrict sense gratification, then the result is that we're given more opportunities for sense gratification of a higher level. We go upwards. Simply by restricting sense gratification, Hiranyakashipu had Lord Brahma himself come and offer him unlimited benedictions, or at least he got 100 benedictions, trying to become immortal. And although he couldn't quite become immortal, he became practically the ruler of the whole universe. So although in the material world everyone's competing for sense gratification, but actually one gets the opportunity for sense gratification by restricting one's sense gratification. So that's rather an enigma for most people. How am I going to get more sense gratification by restricting my sense gratification? But anyone can experience that if they just fast for a day. Everyone has the experience that after fasting for a day, and then when it's time for prasadam, how much more better it tastes. Just like now it's going to be Gaur Purnim tomorrow, and everyone's not probably looking forward to the fasting. Wow, it's a fast day. Great. I can't wait. Maybe I'll fast for a couple extra days. No, the high point of the day is when the moon comes up. Not that it reminds us of Lord Chaitanya, but it reminds us of prasadam. But then prasadam, after fasting for the day, tastes even better. Therefore, Hiranyakashipu, he fasted for 120 years of the demigods, and he got great opportunities for sense gratification. Of course, he still was not happy, because the whole idea of elevation in the material world is ultimately to go back to the spiritual world. So we may get all opportunities for sense gratification, but that doesn't mean that we'll actually become satisfied. Still, one should follow the Veda culture, because the Veda culture will, as it says, part of that is Atmavat paradareshu, paradwareshu lasravat, Atmavat sarabhuteshu, yak pashiti sapanditaha. That the aim is to become pandit, to live according to the spiritual culture, and ultimately to treat all ladies as, except for one's wife, as like one's mother. That's the essence of Vedic culture. And to consider everyone else's property like garbage in the street. And to see all living entities as spiritual beings on the same level as oneself. Now that's not Krishna consciousness, but that's part of reality. We may imagine that there's some other reality, that all living entities are different from me. As Prabhupada was saying in Mumbai, he said that we may think that there's different types of consciousness. There's African consciousness, there's European consciousness, but actually the consciousness is the same. If you pinch someone, they feel it the same. Doesn't matter if they're African, or if they're American, or anything. Even a bird, you pinch the bird, they'll feel it. So actually the real thing is consciousness. That every body has a soul inside the body, and every soul has consciousness. And everyone wants to be treated in such a way as their consciousness will become pleased. And everyone's property actually belongs to Krishna, and we're trying to get over this idea that I'm going to become the proprietor. Therefore, whatever Krishna gives one to utilize in his service can be utilized, but to try to hanker to get other people's property is considered to be very inauspicious. Om Purnam Purnam Adaya, that everything is complete. Krishna is giving us whatever we need, and therefore Ishavasham Idam Sarvam Yat Kinchat Jagat Jam Jagat Tena Bunditaha Mag Swida Kashiswidana. That everything in the material universe, whether we think it's ours or other people's, actually belongs to Krishna. Now generally we won't hanker for what we already have, we hanker for what we don't have. And therefore to hanker for what other people have is another form of illusion. And of course the basic principle in the material world is the relationship between man and woman. Sometimes man sees another man as woman, or dog, or whatever else. Anything in Kali Yuga, anything's possible. There's even something called necrophilia, I think it's called. One is attracted by dead bodies. But that's the whole idea, is man, woman. Man means the enjoyer, woman means that which is enjoyed. And therefore, there's a certain restriction that one can enjoy in such a way as to produce children to raise them in God consciousness. Then it actually has a purpose behind it in relation to Krishna. So everything has to be seen in relation to Krishna, ultimately to have any real benefit. But even if we follow the instructions of Krishna, which is called the Vedic culture, that will actually elevate us. But without seeing it in relation to Krishna, ultimately it's called Shrama Evahi Kevalam. That's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. Ashradaya hutam datam tapastaptam kritam chayat asat ichitate parta not chate pratino iha. That anything done in sacrifice, charity, and penance without faith in the Supreme is impermanent and has no benefit either in this world or in the next. In other words, although the Vedic culture is praised in the Vedas, because otherwise people, and it gives one results, but ultimately without becoming Krishna conscious, it's all considered a waste of time. It's just a temporary, what may bring one some higher status in material life, but any status in material life is considered to be inauspicious. In any case, luckily for Aditi, her husband is Kasyapa. So though we can see that Kasyapa, he doesn't tell Aditi, you're in Maya, you're trying to get your sons back to the heavenly kingdom, you should just become detached. They're not their body, they're getting their karma. Think positive. Don't be afraid of the demons. They're also Krishna's servants. See everything equally. He didn't try to preach to her. You're not this body. Your children are not their body. The demons are not their body. Just accept it's called the law of karma. Be tolerant. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. It doesn't work in this world, and it doesn't work in the heavenly world either, even between husband and wife. He could have told the wife, get real. Chant Hare Krishna. Don't be so attached to your children. They're going to die anyhow. He could have preached her. And she wouldn't have listened to anything he had to say. It would have been a waste of time. Therefore, but he was expert enough that he was able to dovetail her desire for getting a son who could help the demigods conquer the heavenly planets, and therefore he engaged her in such a way as to do the activities, but in such a way as to get the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to do it in Krishna consciousness. Later on we'll find that Hiranyakashipu was killed by Indra, I guess. Well, who did Indra kill? That Aditi was who's the son of Aditi that was killed by Indra? Why was Aditi so disturbed by Indra? Didn't remember. In any case, Kashyapa again, he engaged Diti in such a way is that ultimately that she she got sons, the Maruts, but they all became friends of Indra. For some reason, Diti wanted to kill Indra because Indra had killed. No, he didn't kill. She wasn't put to sword. Anyhow, we can look it up. In any case, sometimes one is engaged in activity, but at the same time, at the end of the activity, if one actually becomes Krishna conscious, then it becomes a successful activity. For instance, Dhruva Maharaj was engaged in activity of going to the forest and meditating upon Vishnu by chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and worshipping a form of Vishnu in the form of a deity that he himself made, and going through great austerity and penance under Narada Muni's direction, in order to get a kingdom greater than that of his great-grandfather. But at the end of the day, he became a devotee of Vishnu. So Narada Muni engaged him to get his material desires fulfilled, but engaged him in such a way as at the end of the day he became Krishna conscious. And therefore his material desires, he forgot about. Therefore, kama sarva karma va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusha puram. The Vedas are actually meant to engage people in ultimately pious activities so that they can become Krishna conscious. Because without becoming Krishna conscious, it's all a waste of time. We may become elevated to the heavenly planets, but then eventually we'll fall down from the heavenly planets. We start from where we were at, or even lower. But if we follow the Vedas and we become Krishna conscious, then our life actually becomes successful. And even if we don't go to the heavenly planets, there's no loss. But if we become Krishna conscious, then it's all success. Therefore it says, Tyaktva dharmam charamba, Tyaktva dharmam charanam bhujam hare, bhujam adpakto, bhujet ito yadi. Yadkwava abhadravdam abuddha muchakim tadarto kama bhajatam sadharma taha. That we may perfectly follow the Dharma and our Dharma in our varna and ashram, but if we don't become Krishna conscious, what is actually the gain? On the other hand, if we take to Krishna consciousness and we neglect our dharma, our varna and ashram, and if we don't become successful, then what is the loss? In other words, we've actually gained, we become conscious of Krishna, we've gained something valuable. And although, Prabhupada said, in the next lifetime, we may not be elevated and get a very nice body, we may even get a lower body, but auspicious Krishna consciousness will continue, and ultimately one will become free from all material conceptions, and become conscious of Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. So here in this world, we think if I'm suffering, it's very bad. But if I'm suffering, it's an opportunity to remember Krishna. And we may think happiness is quite good. But if we're happy and we forget Krishna, then it's very bad. Even in Vedic astrology, people can't understand Vedic astrology without understanding that the purpose of the universe is to become Krishna conscious. Because sometimes they think if they get something exalted means that they're going to get all material facility, and then they have an exalted planet and they're suffering like anything in the period of the exalted planet. But actually the exalted planet is the opportunity for them to wake up and understand that they're Krishna's eternal servant. And then they're fearful about having their material happiness taken away in the period of a debilitated planet, and they get all material resources and they completely forget Krishna. That's why it's debilitated, because exalted planets are conscious planets. They're conscious means conscious of Krishna, or at least conscious of reality. And debilitated planets means unconscious planets, and therefore unconscious of Krishna. And when we're unconscious of Krishna, often we get even more desire for material enjoyment. To see the material world from the point of view of its aim is to go back to the spiritual world, then the activities of the Varna and Ashram, the Vedic culture, all make sense. And the activities in the materialistic culture don't make any sense. Although in one sense, materialistic culture may give one all material facility for sense enjoyment, seemingly, but at the end of the day, everything is a waste of time. And one may follow the Vedic culture and get into great difficulty, but if one becomes Krishna conscious, then one is actually in a very auspicious position. To fight in a battlefield like Kurukshetra doesn't seem very auspicious. I spent my whole life training up as a Kshatriya, going through all kinds of austerity. Now I'm placed in a battlefield, I'm going to get mowed down by a Maharati. Me and the other 20 million people fighting in the battlefield who trained their whole lives to become a Kshatriya. One bowman shoots 20 million arrows with his astra, kills us all in a moment, and what's the result? My whole training was wasted. I should have spent my time training against arrows, especially astras thrown by Maharatis. But the result is, if I'm actually Krishna conscious, if I was doing it according to the culture, then I may go to the heavenly planets, or I may even go back to the spiritual world. So my training was not so that I was going to become victorious and great warrior, get my name in some Facebook, mixed martial artist of all time. No, the aim is that one becomes elevated, ultimately back to the spiritual world, if one follows his dharma. Even if the result is that I'm not successful, but if I follow my dharma and I do my duty and in Krishna consciousness, then that's real success. Jataya, he fought against Ravana. He's not noted for beating Ravana, for becoming victorious over Ravana. He's noted because he did it for Lord Ramachandra. And although he lost the war, he lost the battle, but he went back to the spiritual world, and therefore ultimately he was successful. Vritrasura, he handed the club back to Indra. He said, try again. Actually, he threw the club first at Airavata. and Airavata, he hit Indra threw his club at Vritrasura. Vritrasura caught the club, threw it back, hit Airavata. Airavata was knocked back so many meters. Indra became morose, thinking that one of my best weapons was completely ineffective. And then Vritrasura started to preach to him. You rascal, you're in Maya. You're not here to, you're going to win if you just, get out of Maya. If you kill me, I'm going back to Godhead. You're going to gain the universe where you're going to ride here in this miserable world. So Indra seemingly became successful. Vritrasura wanted him to win the battle so he could go back to Godhead. Not that Vritrasura said, well, now, here's Indra, he's morose, I'm just going to kick him in the head, put an end to him, and I'm going to take over the heavenly planet. No, he thought, I'm just going to waste my time. Indra wants to be here, he wants to enjoy it. Good luck. I'm going back to the spiritual world. I'll meet you there when you get some sense. Therefore, the conclusion is this 8th and 9th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are full of all kinds of stories of powerful people in the universe who ultimately, although they were so powerful, if they weren't Krishna conscious, they were just wasting their time. And we shouldn't try to spend our time hoping that to go to the heavenly planets, becoming powerful, and enjoy opulence there, because we'll also be wasting our time there. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
I'm just thinking about this, the statement that if a person, an uninvited guest is coming to the house, even the enemies, and one should take nice care of them. But I'm thinking, if you're not qualified to have this level of worship, or level of hospitality, should you do that?
Yeah, of course. Prabhupada said that every temple should have so many meals ready prepared to anyone who comes. Then they should be ready to feed them. We did that for a while, and we had so much prasadam we didn't know what to do with it. No one came. So the devotees were eating so much prasadam, they were getting sick. And they were already in the temple, they weren't uninvited guests. But Prabhupada wanted that. Of course, we had to preach a little bit more to get these people to come, but that was what Prabhupada's desire was, that we have meals ready for anyone uninvited. Because that's the Vedic culture. Prabhupada saw that in his childhood, his father would go out and actually call out, if anyone's hungry, let them come and eat. So at every meal, there were always a few guests there. Whenever Prabhupada took prasadam, there were always some guests there. And some of them were so-called sadhus, and Prabhupada realized they weren't really sadhus. And his father was so hospitable that even he had a hookah there. You know what a hookah is? What's that? A hookah is that you smoke opium or hashish. So he even had a hookah there for the guests who came in case they wanted to.
I was watching this Trump visiting China, and this was on national TV all broadcasted. Super, and such an elaborate thing. They are nothing but enemies, worse enemies they could be possibly, but same thing. He comes to visit, he's given all the royal reception.
They're about to kill each other. Well, we can see that in the Jarasandha and Bhima fought for 28 days, trying to kill each other the whole day. And at night they were friends. Jarasandha treated them like best of friends, gave them all kinds of nice food, didn't put a little poison in the food. I think you're going to feel a little sick tomorrow, Bhima. No, he treated them like best of friends. That's the whole culture. At night, during the battlefield of Kurukshetra, at least for some time, they were very hospitable to each other.
But was it not that Krishna visited Duryodhana that he tried to...
Yeah, Duryodhana didn't follow the culture very well. He tried to bribe Krishna. He actually gave Krishna all kinds of facility, but then when he saw Krishna was not very receptive, then he tried to kill Krishna. He pushed the lever, and then Krishna showed him the universe. Then, actually, I think he first showed the universal form, but Duryodhana wasn't very impressed, and he pulled the lever trying to kill Krishna. That didn't work either, though.
Oh my God.
Well, there's both sides of the Vedic culture, you know. Sometimes you send Vishakanya, you know, here's a present to your neighboring king. The Vishakanyas were trained up from their childhood to ingest poison. They're injected with poison. So even as soon as the king kissed the Vishakanya, immediately he died from the poison. So there are different types of hospitality. But that's the king's hospitality.
Yeah, this house, the fire, is also like...
There's all kinds of... Especially in Dwapara Yuga, it was kind of mixed hospitality. Yeah.
In the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, we see that Ramachandra Guru is going to houses of people and he's kind of eating a lot and then criticizing everybody and criticizing Lord Chaitanya ultimately. And then ultimately he's kind of gone and everybody's very happy. So is it wrong to be happy if you live such a place?
Well, if you were Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, because he was ultimately, he had criticized Lord Chaitanya to the point that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had cut his eating in half. So that was very disturbing to the devotees. So they were happy to see him go because Lord Chaitanya resumed his normal eating again. Because they were more worried about Lord Chaitanya's happiness than having to face Ramachandra, Puri. So, for Krishna's happiness, that we're happy when Krishna's happy, and we're unhappy when Krishna's not happy.
So sometimes you can have a guest, because I know that we used to have where people were coming to the temple, and they were not interested in temple life, you know, they created so much havoc. And we wanted to be very liberal, you know, so then we were paying, and then they were just like, you know,
Oh, that's foolish.
huh?
That's foolish.
It's foolish, yes.
Yeah, we're interested in, the temple is for people who want to become Krishna conscious. That's why we're here. As Prabhupada said, it's not for lazies and crazies. Otherwise we're misusing Krishna's energy. But if some innocent person comes, or even the people who are envious or not interested, we don't mistreat them, but we don't allow them to take advantage of Krishna. That would be foolish. It's like inviting Duryodhana to become a head pujari or something. We have to engage people appropriately. So, even in the Vedic culture, people who are not qualified, then they fed them outside the house, like the Muslims. They give them prasadam, but not inside the house. The dogs were given prasadam, but not inside the house. They weren't allowed to come in. Similarly, even the tigers, they were given milk, but they didn't invite them to live with them. So we have to deal with things appropriately, or else we're wasting our time, Krishna's time. Invite a thief to come in, tell him where, all the valuables are, all the deities' paraphernalia is. So you're very hospitable, but the result is you'll get into trouble. Or the camel was at some kind of animal teamed up with a scorpion. He was very afraid that if I take you across the river, then you might sting me. So
They said, no, I'm not so foolish. Because then, I'll be killed. So I guess it was a horse or some camel. Camel was taking him across the river. Suddenly he got stung by the scorpion. And he said, now I'm stung, we're both going to drown. He said, what can I do? It's my nature to sting. And people will follow their nature. Anything else? Thank you very much. Radhadesh, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Jai.
Actually, our
First fight
Probably the first time. That time, then it was powerful. You will see the supernaturally realized, and he really got very determined, very surrendered, very suggestive. So he attracted more blessings, and it said the blessings are pretty much always there. But it's about our eagerness to receive them and our humility that we.
So I'm going to say that the reason why Didi wanted to kill Indra was because of Indra, because Vishnu was protecting Indra. That's why Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu got killed.
Yes, indeed, yes. Now that's something.
Because of his connection to
Yes. It wasn't fair. Yeah.
It's his fault.
Indeed.
Just because of family,
Yeah, family connection. Yeah.
She made a sacrifice. She was supposed to get a son who was the enemy of Indra, but instead she got the son
Mantra got chanted wrong or
Indra
something.
was an enemy.
Yeah, but there was some quote with mantra.
Yeah, they said it wrong.
Yes. It was actually on purpose.
But how did it was on purpose, yeah, it was on purpose.
They were influenced, but it was not they didn't do it on purpose, but they were influenced in such a way that
Who influenced them? How?
I think somehow Indra was getting favor somehow.
There was 49 of them.
Yeah, because he wanted to kill the baby.
Let it go. Share with gods. I think it's not such a peaceful place.
Exactly. And you know, when you fall out of heaven, you have to come on the way down between where the Rakshasas are, and the Rakshasas eat you alive. And then you come out of your body in your tears, and you come down as rain. But they don't tell you that so often, but lucky people don't understand about that.
Even if they tell you.
So they wait and you.
Huh?
So they wait when you drop out.
Yeah, they eat your body. Rakshasas, as you're going down.
You don't remember?
Huh?
No,
They
you.
don't
Better. Okay.
No, better remember it.
Better remember? Well, I don't know if it's better.
I think it would be too traumatizing to remember that.
Oh, you don't remember.
Then you wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah, the thing is just not to lose connection, because actually she wasn't because she's not protected. What connection? She was not very connected. This is the thing is the truth. That's what he said. But keep it
to make extra garlands tomorrow.
I don't have to, I would like to.
And which flowers you have then?
This should be somebody who is used to do such little things. If you want to do something like that, I need for bangles. Oh, I see. Yeah, so then this. Maybe I can do some of this.
This is Mama, I think it's Mama.
You have extra flowers for money there? I have lots, I just need bangles and bracelets. Maybe I can do it for the tiny flowers like this. Which flowers? The flowers which are outside. The ice breakers.
The white ones. She also makes from the white ones.
Okay. What we can do then? What you feel around it? There is nothing white over there. Huh? Tomorrow is nothing white in our outfit. Nothing white.
She likes the colors, right?
We have a saffron, like hot saffron, with purple, green, even no yellow. That's it. White is very refreshing. It's always good. It's like really, white is recommended always for I just don't like them so much. Huh? I don't like them so much. What do you mean? These flowers, I don't like them because they very quickly smell fresh.
She said it's very quickly.
Yeah, they are not fresh, they are not steady. Yeah. And if I make a bangles from them, they will like nothing. You know? Yeah. That's why, otherwise I like them, they are very pretty. So like that I need all of those. Yeah. Make examples. Okay. You're too busy, I know. I don't even dare to ask you something. No, I know, that's why I'm not asking you, please don't feel offended. I just don't want to put you in a comfortable situation, saying no.
If it's during class tomorrow, that's
No, last moment.
You could have asked me now because I was busy. And I could you not have helped?
No, but I did not have time to prepare the model. Because I had to take time to be prepared.
I can do now just one quickly, please, and then I go.
No, right, that's no, I need your dedication.
Yeah, that is dedication, I know.
Okay, I can give you something else then to do.
You have no meals. I can.
I have only 1 minute, that's it.
I'm here when you go.
It's not for calls of the children.
Not the same, okay.
Anyway, it's okay. Don't worry. I would give you to make this for the hair. I thank her for the
I wash it. I wash this one.
I'm going to ask your she's about these things.
Then we are not tea.
Yeah. Yes, there was your version.
Sorry. If I wash it, the needle with water, can I use it still for morning time?
If you wash it?
She said I cannot get it.
Because she is using for sure in clothes.
I wash it.
Achman, it's okay. Achman. It's Achman. Is there a Achman? You just extend your hand and use the Achman. Can you extend it? No? Huh? Okay, we'll do it now. You can extend your Achman hand. Okay?
Yeah. I also hear this one. Not good here?
No, this is not Achman. This in the cup, yeah, this is Achman.
I wash it first my hands. already?
No, I am not so good. My eyes are not so good.
No, but this is thick thread. This thread will go
And it goes in, but yeah, I have to have good eyes for it. So,
little water, take little water. Where did you take this?
yeah,
You got it from
good.
because I got measurement. It's good, but just because can you make 2 hankers for the hair or
No, I just will make one. I make one.
We'll make another one.
Huh?
We'll make another one. I need 2 things.
Yeah,
That's why I'm giving you that it's only 2. It's very easy. No, you don't need to make like that. I'll give you someone else better. Easy better. Can you make 2?
It's very easy.
Easy better, just with the colors. But if you can do it.
Yeah. Otherwise you can take one. No. Maybe it's...
No, this is too small. It's too small.
That one, right?
Bigger is like that.
This one's maybe, this seems bigger.
I don't know if you want to walk down, they have really big one. It means they will make better photos. So you want to walk?
I can bring it home maybe.
No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will come bring home because I need to make better how and carry better.
Cannot show me how to do the
No.
pencil.
wait. Don't move. Change. We have 2 white, 3 pink, and 2 blue. Wait. Yes. Why this way? Because we can stay in the head like that, and this is going to show. Last year we did our show.
Also some decorations, you know, so I don't think they will do it after you do things.
We have no course contains simultaneously created.
Some things you know, some
Very difficult.
and some is if you start really early, then come out in there, they will be very downstairs.
We're coming to the viewers. And then we also want to finish quickly. Watch the children go enjoy. That's it.